Hello, good evening, welcome to UPfront. Tonight, the big debate. What's the way forward for education at the senior high school level in this country? Double track or any other system that looks way better than that particular system? I have the best and the brightest of brains in Ghana's education sector here in the studio to give you all the options available to you and make a wonderful decision on whether or not to support the double track system, which is being rolled out in less than a month from now. After this break, I'll introduce my guest. You're welcome back. My name is Raymond Alqua. This is UPfront, and today we sort of brought you something that we hardly do. We're seeking to get to the bottom of the matter, but making you understand and fully appreciate what the system is all about, how best it can be improved, and whether or not it's going to in any way affect the quality of education at the senior high school level. So, for example, in the next 10 years after implementing the double track system, will Presbyterian Boys Secondary School, which I consider to be the best school in Ghana, be as it is today or be worse off? Would we have similar schools? Would we degenerate the quality at that level? And is the Ghanaian product at the senior high school level, would it be able to compete with the rest of the world after leaving the double track system? My guest today, and very close to me, is a former Director General of the Ghana Education Service. He was controversial at that time and he had views on his own too at that time. I had to check out your welcome.
Thank you very much.
And also, a minister I've hosted here before, he's one of my favorites though, Deputy Education Minister in charge of that tertiary sector is Dr. Oseya Odichum. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you're doing great.
Doing very well.
How is the people of Bosomtwe doing?
Bosomtwe is doing great.
Very, very good.
I was honored with the presence of the president last week in my constituency.
Oh, okay.
So
What's happening? Well. We thought there were some plans to redevelop the, what do they call it? Is it lake? Yes, the lake.
Yes, yes. There are plans. We are working with other agencies. We have to do better than what we're doing.
Yes, and I'll beg you to speak up a little bit louder for me.
Okay, I'm just
the
saying
people
that
of Bosomtwe may not hear you at all.
Oh, I'm so sorry. They must hear me. I first of all want to say hello to all your viewers, and also to thank you for the opportunity to be on your show, and to say that I'm very excited to be here. The people of Bosomtwe are happy. The president visited us
I see.
last week, so it was great to see the first gentleman of the land touching the grounds of our district. So the chief and people are very grateful that the president was able to make it to our constituency.
You used to have a senior high school. Do you still have the school?
No.
Why? You are no longer interested?
I mean, I did not set up the school for profit purposes. I just wanted to help my people.
So what's the status of the school now?
I'll give it free to the government.
Oh, so you've donated your school?
Yeah. I don't need it. I have about 14 acres of land.
I see.
Buildings, now we have another 2-story building under construction now. A lot of space created, a girls' dorm, and I did not set that for money. So I've donated it with 0 cedis coming to me because I feel strongly that we have to support the efforts of the government. And I could afford to do it, so I just decided to do it.
Will the school be part of the double track system?
No.
Oh.
There's no high demand.
There's no high demand there.
So it's a new school, and therefore we don't have to burden it with a double track.
Mr. Achiko, you're welcome once again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Now, let me come to you, Doc. And the conversation has gone far. When is school reopening for the double track students to go back to school?
Borders are reporting on the 8th.
On the 8th?
Yes, of September.
I'm talking about first-year students.
Because the way the structure has been done is that you have second and third year
already in school,
going with half of
the first year. Yes.
So as it is now, Ghana Education Service has indicated that the second and third years will go to school on the 8th, and they are waiting anxiously for the release of the WAEC, a result of the BECE. Last year they released it on the 24th, and we're able to get a student to go to school on September 9th. It was a record placement and opening for first year. And this year, they're going to do it for us on the 21st. So conceivably, as indicated by Ghana Education Service, half of the first years may be going with second and third. But,
I see. So the 8th may rarely be the reopening date.
Oh, it is reopening dates.
For
Form 2, Form 3.
Even for Form 1?
Yes, half of them, yes. Because last year we were able to do it very quick. You have, they released the results on the 24th and they went to school on the September 9th. So we are within the same ballpark.
That's like 3 weeks from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting how the system is going to run. And that means that there's a lot of pressure on you guys at the Education Ministry to fix all the outstanding issues before you roll out the system.
Of course, most of them have been resolved.
You've recruited the teachers?
We are doing that next week. So now we are done with the timetable.
You have a timetable?
Yes, timetable. Okay. And they're divided into tracks. And now we're able to know how many teachers are needed at each of the schools. So we are in a very good place to start the recruitment effort.
So next week, we are still going for 8,000 teachers?
8,000 teachers, and they are all over the place.
Is it that we are now recruiting them, or if they are being recruited, they are going through training?
Oh, no, you see what happened 5 months ago is that we recruited 19,000 teachers and staff.
Okay. You recruited 5 months ago?
Yeah. 5 months ago, 19,000. Majority of them were high school teachers.
Okay.
A few of them were cooks and other staff of senior high schools, and then a few primary and junior high school teachers were recruited within the last. We have so many applications there, and now people are even sending applications. So recruiting graduate teachers in this country is not the most difficult thing to do, because a number of those graduates are graduated from UCC, UEW, and were not recruited for public schools. So there are so many of them in the system.
Okay, so what I want to understand is that the recruitment that's currently ongoing, which you say you complete next week, will these teachers be kept and put on hold till they start with the first year, second batch?
No, not really. Because if you do that, then you're going to have the second batch of all the new teachers. So you know.
Yes.
So what is happening is that they are going to be integrated throughout all the tracks. Some will go to second and third year. So the timetable that has been done in such a way that each one of the tracks has some experienced teachers. So that you don't have a situation where you just recruit for the last group and they get all the new teachers, and even though they've completed university, you have to teach for some time. So no, they have distributed it in such a way that every track has experienced teachers. And on average, we are getting about, those that we've done so far, about 15 teachers more.
I see.
What that means is that because of the recruitment that was done a few months ago, a number of the schools had teachers. That's why we're not even doing the full complement of classes that they needed to do. So what we have done, some schools may need 10 more teachers, others may need 15 more teachers, and they will distribute them among all the tracks and not on just the track that will go the last. And
for the avoidance of doubt, it's still not all senior high schools that are going to go through the double track system.
Yes, you are right. We actually have 400 out of the 696 that are going to be double track. So those are the only ones that we have to worry about in terms of.
And it also presumes that these 400 are the schools that
everybody wants to go.
Everybody wants to go to.
Yeah, those are the high-performing schools.
Yes.
High-demand schools. We started with the category A and B, and then a few category C schools that are high demand. For example, Kwabenya, Domi Kwabenya.
The new senior high school.
The new senior high school, high-demand school.
Is it a high-demand school?
Oh, very high demand. You see, if you do day schools very well, and that's why I say all the time that I applaud the former president for coming up with the community day schools.
It was a good concept.
It's a good concept. The only thing is that somehow, I don't know how it happened, but people lost their way. Instead of building more in Accra, in the cities, where it's easy to get people to go to day, somehow some of the schools find themselves in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
There are times when they don't even put it in the small town that is there. They will go about 5 miles away and put it in the forest. That I don't understand. But the few ones, the ones that were done in large cities, excellent idea. Because Kwabinya right now, GMPC is building a 6-classroom block for them.
Again?
Yes. Because if they don't, even though they are not 3 years yet, as of last, they weren't 3 years yet, and the school was almost full because the demand is there.
So how many of these 200, and you brought it up, have been completed so far? The one started by the NDC. In fact, the vision was 200. We were told that when we were leaving office, they had 123 were at different stages of completion. Yeah.
I think there are about 40 done at the time.
Yeah, okay.
And then we have about 13 that has been completed since.
Okay.
And is going to be operationalized. We haven't left any one of them.
So the rest, what's going to happen to them?
Rest, what's going to happen is they will be part of our infrastructure development strategy to get us out of the double track. We have 42 schools that are going to be model schools built by President Akufo-Addo. President, he has a vision to do the same thing that President Akufo did in terms of the model schools.
Okay.
And we have projected 42, but now the new district may even be more. And the goal is that every district will have a flagship senior high school. And they did similar things, for example, for Kumasi Anglican. And now there are so many students there. So if you have great facilities, more students demand it, and they come there. And it releases the stress from the Prempeh and the Opokwaris and the Augustins and the Adisadels of the world. So the whole thing is that any school that has been started will be part of our school construction effort. We're not going to leave anything behind because somebody else did it. No, it's the money of the people of Ghana. Some
time ago, Michael Nsua, who is chairs the GS, stipulated that you were considering having to ask third-year students come school early and also ask WAEC to push the exams a little bit backwards so that they can have more time to study and improve the passing of these students. Have you abandoned the idea?
Oh, not really. WAEC has actually acceded to our request. And actually, they started last year. You see, WAEC exams was beginning for WASI. It was beginning February 1st.
Yeah.
And they moved it to April 1st.
Okay.
And now we're pushing them to May.
Okay.
Yeah, so they gave us 2 more months for the students to study. So we did not abandon that.
But how about beginning the academic year earlier than usual?
This year, no.
Okay.
But one of the things that has happened to the final year students, which is a good thing, is that even though we have a semester and they are supposed to have 2 months of break, they are not going to have the 2 months of break. They're going to have only 1 month break. And since the school day is longer, they have a better opportunity now to really do better on the WASI. Because instead of staying home for 2 months, they will just do 1 month at no cost to the parents. And they will come back to school. So they have a longer period of time to really prepare for the WASI.
Okay, I'll bring in Mr. Hayatuchega because this conversation, we're just mopping up what's been happening in the course of the days and seeing how they are prepared for the system. Now, this system, the double track, I've heard you insist, is some form of a shift system. Is it the best we can deploy at this time to improve the quality of education we have?
Well, I've listened to a lot of the arguments, and especially what Dr. Yao has made over the years, not the years, but over the past few days or months.
Because the system itself a few weeks ago.
Over the years. So I've listened to a lot of the argument. Honestly, as I've indicated, clearly, Dr. Yao says it's not a shift system, but I say it is a shift system. But we won't debate that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's just the same process that says that somebody goes early and another person goes within the same cohort. So that is how we define the concept of the shift system. But let's leave that. Now it has become essential for us to take quote-unquote remedial measures to ensure that we get a system running. So
it's a remedial measure?
Oh yeah, it is a remedial measure. And of course he says it's temporary, so it's seriously remedial.
It's a remedial measure?
Yes, it is a remedial measure. As long as it's not going to be permanent and it's temporary, which we all agree now, we only have to think of ways to get it run, because at this is not a point where you begin to throw spokes in, spanners into the spokes. So yes, it's for now. It appears that this is an option that we all have to go to and see how it turns out.
Is that the only option available?
Well, there could have been a lot of other options, and I've had opportunity to point out that we could have done a lot more in terms of the analysis of the data. Again, especially in terms of the numbers going to schools.
Okay.
I understand that, you know, as the discussion goes on, there is a certain sense that comes with this double track system, that there are some flagship schools or category A schools where there is a high demand to attend. These schools can't take the numbers that make a demand for them.
Yeah.
So there is a need to, and these schools are performing well, and everybody thinks that that is where they should go. So why don't you create an opportunity for those who really want that place to go? The other part of that discussion that has not come out is that when you tilt the numbers that way, you put a lot of people into those systems, and then the downside of it is that the rest of the other schools do not get the numbers that they need to run. Seriously speaking.
So what you're saying is that there are still going to be schools who will not meet their full capacity.
Yeah, if you go by,
and yet others will be running double track.
If you go by that argument, and you look at the requirements and the tracking process, I'm not too sure about the numbers yet, but if you go by the trend, let me be a bit more specific. Like in the past, we've had situations where I always use Wesley Girls. Somebody asked me, why am I using Wesley Girls? Because that's a school that is on high demand. We have 10,000 children choosing Wesley Girls first choice. Close to more than 50% of them. So you have 5,000 children having various high grades.
Okay.
Wesley Girls has space for only 450 or something, max 500. And we are even stopping them because the 500 was based on a certain structure that was built by some group of people, and that building is a shaking building, and we have asked them not to put students in it. So that has already cut down the number. I don't know what has happened to that building, but I'm always advocating that building should be pulled down. I hope Ofaya will look at it again and bring it down, and then we can build a better one that is standing. Then we can go back to higher numbers in the future. So if you take that, and we continue to insist that those numbers should go in, if you look at it in terms of the spread of students, you will not have the other schools having the numbers that we require. And it's a fact going forward in terms of how students make their choices. And I've always made that example from the experience that we had sometime in the 1990s when the senior high school or SHS system began. There are 250 schools added to the original 250, so we had about 500 schools. The 250 schools that were day schools, 100 of those schools had enrollment less than 100 because they were in communities where they were either secondary schools with the same quality and same facilities, and they preferred the boarding houses and left the day schools. So you get all the numbers shifting here, and the schools that we thought people will attend, they don't attend, and the numbers are few. Probably that would have influenced the whole double tracking system. So if you go on to that, let's see how it goes. The remaining 296 schools that will not be tracked. Let's see the numbers that will go in there, and then we can have a case to share going forward.
I saw you shake your head on the issue to do whether or not some schools will still not have full capacity, whilst others are running double track.
We've looked at the numbers.
Okay.
What we decided to do was to make sure that those schools will get a full complement of students like they got the previous year.
Okay.
Yeah, because last year was the year where a number of the schools were able to get students. As he said, he's right. There are some schools, especially in the Volta region, there were a number of schools that were absorbed. Some of them were junior high schools, and they were converted to senior high schools. Yeah. They did not have the name and the reputation to attract students. And until the free senior high school came online, most of them had very few students. But last year, they got a number of students. So if we were to maintain the same level of enrollment from the previous year, what you're going to realize is that they are going to get the same numbers. So at minimum, the 296 schools are going to get the same numbers of students, not less than the number of students that they got last year.
The previous year.
But
were they to their full capacity last year?
A number of them were. A number of them, in fact, there are some schools like Namon in Ashanti region that got way more than what they wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, so a number of schools got the numbers that they wanted. This is not to say that you may still not have some schools that may not get a huge number of students. But what has happened over the years is that in those communities, there were children who were sitting at home. Now with the reset that was done, a number of them are now coming back into our schools. So I'm very hopeful that all those schools that were in low demand will now come up and will get the number of students that they need. In fact, one of the things that we did was the self-placement. The self-placement also had a way of bringing a lot of students to certain schools. Because what happened was, after the first placement, some schools were full. And the students who did not get the school that they wanted as a result of the choices that they made have now an opportunity to go and place themselves in certain schools.
Okay.
And that is how most of these previously low demand schools got a lot of students, because when they go into the system, all those schools that they wanted were full.
Okay, now my question next is about quality. Will quality be compromised, all things being equal?
Well, again, that is the point where Prof. and I will depart company at this particular point in the discussion. Quality is an essential part of this process. My worry is that, and from my experience, a number of those schools, as is rightly cited in the Volta region, who were not getting candidates. In fact, we're not getting the candidates who, in our view, should qualify for senior high school. Now, so if we peg the qualifying rate to 36, as we put it, and stopped it there.
You stopped it there.
Yeah.
But I was given to understand there was no.
No, that's what they
used to do.
That's what we used to do. That's what we used to do.
I get you.
I mean, and it was because you just don't go into senior high school. It was the quality required that you cut it at a certain point, and then you deal with the other.
And you didn't think that there were late bloomers, people who were not so good but could be better.
That's an interesting point. Now I've had this discussion. there are late bloomers.
Yes.
I won't deny that. But again, from my experience, it's a 50-50 situation.
Okay.
It's very difficult to determine whether they are really, really late bloomers.
Okay.
The other question that one might ask is, late bloomers in what? Because again, you are not too sure where you put them. So again, there's something that we have never done. What we need to do is to, and again, I think it will be quite expensive, find out exactly where to put the people who would eventually be late bloomers. We are not stopping their education in that real sense. Where do they have to go in the second cycle system, without necessarily going to what we all believe is a senior high school? Okay?
I don't get it.
No, that's a coded message of saying put them in TVET.
No. In fact,
coded message.
No.
Where do you put them?
Because it's either the mainstream or in technical education.
Well, no. It is not either the mainstream or technical education.
But where?
Listen, we have, in technical education, if you do not have a certain quality now, technical education is about skills.
Okay.
You must have the necessary skills to enter technical education. And of course, it begins with a certain level of interest. So a lot of the people who choose technical schools know that that is the place for them. Now, there are people...
Or they just can't find schools, they end up there.
No. For the people who go to technical schools, it is a real choice for them. Most of them. I would say most of them.
I see.
Now, for the others who do not even know what they want to do, and I say this advisedly, are the people who need the help for them to begin to start looking at themselves and what is available and what they can take.
So what you're saying is that we should look at what the child failed in to be able to determine whether or not where to should go or not.
But the thing to me is we are blaming the victim. Who ran the schools from KG all the way to junior high? And if those kids don't do well, we turn around and blame them. We turn around and say let me always remind you of
the blame game. It's about the interest of the child in this case?
Seriously, what is going on in this country? It's not what is international best practice.
Which one?
Which is when children don't do well, you need intervention. So when people talk about double track and say that with the double track improve the quality, yes, there are some tangential benefits, but that is not a silver bullet.
Okay.
If you don't do some other things in the education system, you cannot depend on double track to say that is going to bring about qualitative improvement in learning. It's a way of granting access. You have to begin to look at your quality intervention issues. And that is why we are even paying schools now, giving them intervention grants.
I see.
So the bottom line is, it's a silver lining for us, opportunity for us to do something. But that in itself does not automatically transform your schools and say that if this school was not high performing, we did double track and it became high performing. No, that's not what we are talking about.
Is the opposite possible?
No, the opposite.
Is
the
a school
opposite,
like Presec likely to have its quality
degenerate?
brought down?
Oh no. There's a guarantee here. The double track guarantee you the opportunity not to congest your school. You can even have the opportunity to reduce class size. The double track also gives you opportunity to increase contact hours. So if anything, it's not going to destroy anything. It has built-in features which, when implemented according to the plan that we have developed, will enable schools to improve quality. But what I'm saying is this: you don't use double track as your quality reform program.
Okay.
You
so
have
we need
to
that
do,
separately.
of course, you do other things.
That's right.
As part of your whole education development system.
And
For
I see
example,
him nodding, so I want to ask you a question.
for
Specifically,
example,
what should be done? If you want to.
First of all, you have to do intervention. So we come back to what he was talking about. That if students come to your school and they don't do well, you don't allow them to sink or swim. You don't say that stay at home, we are not going to take you. You take them, but you have to do intervention. Let me give you an example of what's happening at Wesley Girls. This is the first time ever that our elite schools like Wesley Girls got 30% of the enrollment from public schools. Never happened before.
I see.
Every year, they have maybe 5%. The rest of them come from homes where you can have a tutor after school. Went to majority of them went to private schools. And they came with good grades, 111. And they are smart. They write well, they speak English well. Then you have village kids for the first time setting foot on the campuses of our elite institutions. And if I tell you the story of Wesley Girls, according to the headmaster, what they did a diagnostic exam when the students came in. They saw the challenges that the students from public schools were having. They immediately implemented an intervention program for them.
Oh, okay.
So that they could compete.
To upgrade them.
To upgrade them. Because you see, there's something about...
Will this run concurrently?
Of course, concurrently. But there's something about rural and poor kids who normally will not get the grace to go to these schools. They are very resilient and they are hungry for opportunity. If you take them to some of these schools where they never dreamt that they will ever be there, they will work for you. They are well behaved, they come in, and sometimes they may not have all the skills, social skills that we think everybody should, but they are determined to succeed because to them, the only way out of poverty is that opportunity that you have offered them at this elite school. So a village kid, public school child who goes to Wesley Girls do not go and play around. They do everything because they know that if they don't do well, that's the end of the opportunity that the nation has offered to them. So you can talk about the low-performing students and the grades that they came in. But we're all in this country when late Prof. Andam selected students from his area who had D7 and E8, took them to KNUST, and some of them graduated with first class.
Yes,
Let me tell you.
Example is
yes, you see, so all that we are saying is that cutoff should not be the way. But when we bring them in, we should not also leave them to sink or swim. So we need to provide intervention.
Is it policy? Is it policy at the ministry that the various senior high schools, the Class A schools, should, as a matter of fact, institute these interventions for the students?
Oh, yes. And that's why we're giving them money. We didn't want
going to happen.
Oh, yes. Okay. It's part of our budget this year. We didn't want a situation where we put the students there and there's no support for them. So the not allowing to sink or swim is the reason why we are going to disburse 55 million cedis to our schools, and they are going to use them for intervention. We are also bringing, every school is going to get 4 graduates recruited through NAPCO for intervention purposes, 4 graduates, every senior high school. And these are all part of the qualitative improvement that we want to see. But by the way, after all this is said and done, if we continue the same way of not holding headmasters accountable for performance, the quality that we want, there will be some quality, but we are not going to get our schools transformed.
Are you making a statement of fact that the new policy is now, when, let's say, students of a school fail, the headmasters ought to account for the failure?
Oh, yes, they are signing performance contracts.
When?
Beginning last year, they've signed performance. We're going to continue this year. We want to be able to, because why would you preside over a school where only 4 out of 100 pass the WASI? That is, they get the grades that will allow them to go to universities. 4%. I won't mention some names, but school ranking is going to come out. We're going to rank all schools, and you're going to see. We have a number of schools that historically has been producing 4% A1 to C6 in Accra.
In the Greater Accra?
Yes. And when that happens, no conversation is had with the headmaster. Say that, Mr. Headmaster, you have a school where majority of kids are not moving up. What do we do? So what we are saying is...
just a conversation.
No, and then based on the contract, if it doesn't work, my opinion, the minister have said it, if you preside over a school where students are not doing well, and every intervention that we propose and execute is not working, you cannot continue to be a headmaster.
Now I see his face changing. I'll come back to this particular point, but we need to take a break. We'll continue our conversation on the new education system at the senior high school level, double track. We are sifting through the final details for you to appreciate it better. After this break, we'll continue our conversation on will quality be compromised or improved under the circumstance. You're welcome back. This is Upfront. My name is Raymond Akwa. So my guest here is the former Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Ahete Chega, and also with us here is the Deputy Minister in charge of the pre-tertiary sector, Dr. Asaya Duchum. And our conversation is perhaps the most thorny issue in this republic. Parents worried about their students or their kids or their wards going to schools who they are unsure of became a problem in times, but now going to school at a time that they don't even know about is the current problem with the double track system. Now, we left off the conversation. That sounded more interesting. What is being done specifically to not only improve quality, but also make sure that people are accountable for the students they put up and their performance at the end of the year? We first was asking whether or not the students who gets to fail at the DHS level should be allowed to go through the senior high school level without any form of help. Apparently, government is instituting some form of help, and that's what we were talking to Dr. Asaya Duchum about. But, Doc, you made a point to the point that there's going to be an accountability check on the headmasters in this case.
Yeah, because what I was trying to allude to was that I'll not sit here and tell you that double track is a silver bullet. And once you implement, then all of a sudden 100% of your students attain A1 to C6. You have to do a number of things in addition to that, and that is why government did not just do double track, but also came up for intervention grants, which is additional money for schools to do what they call extra classes, and also specifically one-on-one intervention. Yeah, because if you have 100 students, and actually the students who are going to the senior are not those who failed. They are those who did not attain the high marks that others who are going to Achimota and other places attained. What we are saying is that, yes, they may come in. Some of them may even have cases of learning disability and other things that you need to support. So when you assess them, and some of them are slow learners, you provide one-on-one intervention for them.
We have the systems in the schools to do that.
Oh, yes, the system in the school. We training people. Things are improving. There are systems, national assessment. I think they started with assessment for students with learning disabilities. And those are not your physically challenged that you see, obviously. There are students who have processing deficiencies, and therefore they may be slow learners. If you are having an exam, you may have to give them extra time. They may have to sit in front of the class. There are a number of things that you do to support those students. But besides that, what we are saying is this. There are a number of other things we need to do as a nation to really put our education system at the level where we need to be, which is to become competitive with the rest of the world, not just African thing.
All this conversation started with you bringing up the cutoff point. After his explanation on why the cutoff is not the most important concentration now, do you buy into the new plan?
Well, again, as I said, if government is putting in place measures to ensure that the group that formerly we were not allowing to go into what we call the regular senior high schools are now getting in there. And with the kinds of intervention, we'll wait to see what happens. Because we know that and I also always insist that what we have just described, my technical cutoff point, meaning that move them out of the SHS and send them to technical schools, which is not what I want to say, but that is the perception that people have, is that once you are not set and your results does not enable us to place you conveniently in a secondary school system, we should find a place for you where you can function.
Okay, so this place, I need to ask this question. Which place are we talking about?
Good. It takes a lot of things to come to that. It takes a lot of things to come to that. We have never done. We can look for a lot of alternatives. You know, we have. I've mentioned that there is a senior high school itself in terms of the pure grammar type. There is the senior high school, secondary technical, which does a mix of things. There is also the secondary. There's all the technical institutes. So they are there. All of these would have to be populated by the levels in which we expect that children of that level could enter in that space.
So what you're saying is that we should ask you whether you failed mathematics or English. And if you ascertain that your failure in mathematics was better than English, then we may be able to think that you are more like a technical school person. Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, we could do that. I mean, what we mean is that if you get the numbers that you want to go into senior high school and you are set with it and you have a number. In fact, in the past, that's what they put it at the 60%, and they always had 60% of children going in. The remaining 40, all of us sat down and gazed at them, and they went running around. This time, with the new program, everybody is going in, and I say that everybody going in, we need to also temper that with some caution and ensure that we get some of them placed into the areas where we have opportunities for them to go and do things. Some children don't even know that they have skills to do things. You need a lot of other interventions to bring that.
So we're talking about technical vocational. So be upfront.
No,
we are on upfront. We are on upfront. Yes, be upfront.
No. You could. It's one option.
Just that you've not given me any other option.
No, technical vocation is one option.
Yes.
You could even not even go into, and happily, the doc will tell you that they are bringing all the other dimensions of technical schools into the system. There are options. You can send them to the NVTI spaces where they could practice a number of it. So there are plenty of options for the children.
NVTI is really technical education too.
Yes. That is all I'm saying. So these are things.
So he's not upfront, which is good.
Okay.
No, but I'm not saying at any point that you are taking people who are not performing to go into that place.
That's what you said.
No, I'm not even saying that.
He's not saying that, but he's saying
no, I get that impression too, but okay, I'll give you a minute to clarify that point for me.
I will let you
apart from technical schools, where else can you send these non-performing or low-performing students?
Good. Now, apart from technical schools, if push comes to shove and you do not want them to go and they don't accept to go into technical schools, the option of the resit is there.
Oh, okay. Resit.
So you resit. So you come back. You come back into the system, and we are following the old. You remember the Form 4 days. You go to the middle school days. You do the common entrance in Form 2. You don't pass. Nobody complains. You go to Form 3. You do it. You don't pass. Nobody complains. You go to Form 4. Right? We go through that same process. If we offer you the technical school and you are insistent that you want to definitely go to the Prempe or JAPAS as you really want to go, then go and resit.
I see.
Government should support that resit, and then you go and resit and get into the school.
So instead of taking them to the school for them to be helped, let's say given the intervention you're talking about, they should rather stay in the junior high school.
Well, again, I mean, in this case, the resit, I don't know how we can reorganize the resit.
So we may not send community classes for them.
We may not send them back into the mainstream system because these are reciters.
Yeah.
So we have a different arrangement that is able to take care of them out of the school system.
You see,
is this possible? I mean, we have a resit currently happening, and we know that.
Yes.
My problem is that how do we get the students prepared now for the resit? Because I don't see junior high school remedial classes. I don't see any.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of that too. But I think it will be coming now that the numbers are increasing.
I see.
Yeah, it used to be just 1,000 students for resit, now it's 11,000 this year. So you may conceivably have that scenario playing out.
I see.
The only thing is this. I think we have an opportunity. I don't see this as a problem. I see it as a great opportunity. Because if you look at the gross tertiary enrollment ratio for the countries that we always compare ourselves to, like South Korea, and look at Ghana, there's a huge gap. In Ghana, we are talking about a pyramid, and that is what, unfortunately, people have been infatuated with, that not all the people can go up. So the base is large. As you go up, it becomes a pyramid. And those of us, the elites of this country, those of us who are good at rote memorization, get to be on top of the pyramid. And we say to everybody else, we made it. You go to your village, and the 20 or 30 people that you went to school with in class 1, you are the only one, right? So you look at yourself, I made it. 29 didn't make it. But if they were in South Korea, all of you would have made it together. As I speak now, 2016, the gross tertiary enrollment ratio of South Korea is 93.6. which means that if you take any group of 100 people who are between the ages of 18 to 23, 93.6 of them are at the tertiary level. That nation then have the critical mass of people who think critically to really transform their nation. That nation has created a level playing field for the poor and the rich, so that if you happen to be poor, you also have the same opportunity. So we have to disabuse our minds of the fact that it has to be a pyramid. It can go up. And going up means that you need to support people
these
at
are
the
both
secondary
steps,
level.
and I agree perfectly. But if you look at your own AGRA result for 2015, if you have those at the basic level, a huge chunk of them unable to read nor write, how do you take these bold steps to the
that's when you bring about curriculum reform. Let me tell you, as we sit right now,
Yes.
NACA is undertaking curricular reform. And as part of the curricular reform, there's going to be a national assessment. Do you know that in this country, the first time we know whether our students are doing well or not is after 11 years of education?
Yeah, after BC.
Yes, 11 years.
Oh, we have a
KG, primary 6, junior high school 3, 9 plus 2, 11.
No, we have a national education assessments in
No,
between.
oh no, that is limited. It's not all students who take it. It's not all schools that do it. So that is what we want to make sure that every student will take it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
But that's
started
a
a
sample.
pilot, which is the national education assessment, but not all students take that exam.
It's a sample.
It's a sample.
assessment.
So you cannot use that to provide intervention for a specific student.
I get your point.
But if the NEA that they started can now become a national assessment, and you are assessing students in primary 2, you'll be able to know those who are able to read and write at that level. And then if they don't do well, the next year you can do assessment for specific students and specific primary schools. Samples cannot be, you can't do intervention, you can do district-wide intervention based on sample. You cannot do individualized intervention based on sample.
I get your point, but
So
you're making a point.
No, the point
Briefly,
I was making, though, the
yes.
point I was making that if you do not have national assessment, you cannot provide intervention that will improve the quality of learning for the primary school.
And that's currently happening.
Yes, it's going to happen.
Yeah, Honorable is right. But the point is that, again, this is what I talk about, the resources to get things done. Increasingly, and I'm always ashamed to say that, a lot of our national education assessments have been paid for by donors. In fact, we do a budget every year to even try and do a national assessment. You don't get the funds to do it. So you have these quote-unquote benevolent dictators who give us some money and then we do it. And then you carry it on. You cannot do it on a scale up. Over the years, we used to do even samples. We started by random sampling even a class. Now we said, no, we will random sample because the random sample will ensure that the teacher allows only the best children in the class to be sampled to do it, so you don't get the results are contaminated. So the whole class will now do it. So now we do whole classes for our national education assessment for the sample schools.
At what level specifically?
EGRA does it for all P2s.
Yeah, okay.
And then for
EGMA.
the EGMA is for the same group. And then you have the NEA for
EGRA
P4,
is early grade reading assessment,
and then early grade mathematics assessment.
Okay, yeah.
And then you go to the P4 and P6, where we have the national education assessment that looks at performance in English, maths, and I think recently we tried to add science.
Okay.
Formerly it was just maths and science.
Okay. I get
so that's what we have been doing. It's resource constrained, and I'm glad. I'm very happy that this time it's going to be a national assessment that will enable us to evaluate performance at those levels. Excellent.
So is this on your budget?
Oh yes, of course it's going to be on the budget.
No, the budget is on the budget.
We are preparing to present our
I'm talking
budget
about the
for
next budget. I'm talking about the current budget.
No, the next budget, because we are preparing now.
Because when I perused, I didn't see anything.
no,
So I was
preparing.
confused.
But you see, but honorable
They are
members,
still doing the pilots.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to scale it up to where every student does it. So a parent will have a result that says your child is not doing well in this subject.
Okay.
And even within the subject, there are some areas where they are not good.
So you're going to virtually repeat BC at class
no, it's
2
not.
another area.
It's not BEC.
Oh, no, like a mini BEC.
Yes, a mini BC. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
But again, you see, I think honorable mentioned the point, and they shifted us him to the tertiary level.
Yeah.
But no, he was talking about if you can do the business. But what I was saying was that the tertiary issue is just an indicator. It creates a sense of urgency for us, though.
Yeah, but I wanted to point out something. I wanted to point out that I've always asked the question. The reason we are not getting the expected end entry ratios for attendance is because we have used the word you don't like, the cut-off, using very tactical cut-off arrangements to prevent people from entering the university. And I'll give you some. There is a student who gets all A's and he gets an E in mathematics. He says, I'm going to university to go and do visual arts. And they tell you that, no, you can't go to university because you have an E. I mean, why? And you have numbers of those who are not able to go to university, not because, quote unquote, they failed, but because we have done a certain arrangement that is not allowing our children to enter the university. But again, the argument is about space, even in the university.
No, the space constraints at the universities, if you are creative, they've been doing this sandwich and distance.
Yes,
now all the universities have regional campuses. So all that, and to buttress your point, the issue is about creating a sense of urgency. For us to understand that the vast majority of our people should get opportunity. And if there's a hindrance, we need to come together and remove it. And that is not to say you are reducing the quality or the standards.
So,
but
I
you can have in other jurisdictions, they have something called co-requisites and prerequisites.
Okay.
Which means that if you enter a school, most universities, in addition to the fact that you have graduated and you brought a diploma, you take a placement exam.
Okay.
I see.
And they will be able to know that your math skills are not where we want, and therefore you have this prerequisites.
Okay.
You have to do math 101, math 102, but your friend who passed the placement exam very well may not have to do math 101 and 102.
I see.
They can go straight into that. So yes, those are issues that we need to, as a nation, confront and say, how do you create co-requisites and prerequisites and others, and say that, yes, because you did not bring math of C6, you have to do math 101.
Good. And forgive me for taking you away, but I want to stay at the pre-tertiary level, and specifically on this particular SHS 1. I mean, I was talking to you about quality and whether it was going to be compromised or whether that's going to be affected. The presumption in all of this is that if it's run well, it may be good enough for our system, at least in the interim that it's supposed to be run. Are you convinced that we are really prepared to roll it out?
Oh, yeah, for now, I mean, I want to take Dr. for his word and believe that everything is set as it is. The assurances he's given is consoling enough for you to have a hope and to watch and see how things happen. I believe that in the course of time, we will have opportunity to mention some of these things. And then in future, we can also look at all of this. And I've pointed out that, look, if we are not able to get the people to enter at a time, let's allow them to do a reset. Let's formalize the reset arrangement so that people who want to go into some institutions which their level of qualification did not enable them to get to can resit and enter those schools.
So you are insisting that the almost double number that's entering the senior high schools today is not because they removed the financial barrier, but it's because the cutoff point that used to exist has actually been taken off, so everybody gets the opportunity to go in. That's your insistence.
That is exactly what is creating the problem.
That is the numbers.
If we get that done, the numbers are there.
The numbers has come from free senior high. It's come from the access. The father is free. Because some people may not even argue with you, and they wouldn't have gone to do the reset to get to 11,000.
Okay.
So the numbers are coming because of the introduction of free senior high school. But if it had not been for the free senior high school, then even with these numbers, they would have done a cutoff. But now the president says everybody should go, and let's provide intervention so that if they are not at the level where they think they can do rigorous high school work, we are still providing intervention as it is the best practice in other places around the world. So it's just a question of we have FQ. So if a child is going to junior high school, there's no exams, right? So would you say that he's in junior high school and he's not doing well, therefore let's find a way to keep him out? Once it becomes the vision of the country that we're providing secondary education for everyone, you do not use a cutoff, but when they come in, you provide intervention. And by the way, technical schools and vocational schools now require highest levels of rigor in terms of understanding before you can do it. Because now you're talking about programming. Somebody is sewing, they have to program it in such a way that the machine will be sewing. And then you look at a mechanic, some fitting and all those things. It's the old one doesn't exist anymore. Diagnostic. I went to Pando Technical Institute. They have all the diagnostic tools.
Yeah.
And if you are not smart, you cannot use those machines.
Okay,
so
I
the
see.
bottom line is the olden
So it's not
days,
the place for the fallout any longer.
No, it's not the place. That is why the intervention becomes key. When they come and they don't have the skills, they provide intervention. If you want them, some of them to go home and think it's the olden days where they can do the old TVET, the new TVET is as rigorous, if not more rigorous, than grammar work.
Okay, let me ask you this question. There are some parents who have said that, to be fair, they do not want their child to go to an experimentation system. So I'll choose a private school, well-performing private school like Christian High or any of those that offers the International Baccalaureate or any of those, to have it to take my child through one of the best in the usual senior high school. Are they justified in their fear?
Well, again, I always say that education is probably one of the areas where you have the biggest freedom to make a choice. I would not deprive anybody from making a choice.
But this choice is based on fear. It's not as if they wanted to do it in the first place.
Well, again, it's very difficult for me to even say it's based on fear. It's a mix of everything, but you have a choice. Because you can still allay your fears and go to the system. But you still have a choice. If you decide to opt for a private school, you have made a personal decision to opt for a private school. And of course, you always find a reason why you opt for something. So that choice factor, you don't want to deny anybody from using it. They have a very good reason why they don't want to go through the experimentation, as you said. And yeah, why do you want to fault them? They are free to go. Normally, I mean, if we were to go back and look at some of the trends that have brought about this, every year we have people who don't take the offer to go into senior high schools. Yeah. So again, I mean, do you fault them? No, you don't. It's a choice.
I see.
So they can go to any, especially when the opportunity is there. My worry is the international something you just said. Those I don't even understand it.
You don't understand it?
No, I don't understand it. I mean, here you must do what's it. And for me, I won't send my child to go do international baccalaureate because then I don't have the cash to take my child to wherever. So I'll do my WASI.
Yeah.
Those who are doing WASI, God bless them. If you are doing international baccalaureate, God bless you. Do it and go. But it's your choice.
I think headmasters of our schools are resourceful. If you look at especially our high-performing schools, very creative people. I've met them many times. Headmasters who can create systems. Some schools have created a culture of learning. And that is why now we are actually looking at how do you get some headmasters after they retire who head all these high-performing schools to mentor the new ones.
I see.
You know, so through the SIP program, Secondary Education Improvement Program, there's a mentoring component where headmasters of these high-performing schools, and they retire so early, 60 years, they still have so much time on their hands, and they can do a fantastic job of helping train other headmasters and mentoring them to really improve our schools. We have an opportunity to use them to really turn around our schools. And I think those schools that we are doing the double track, they are resourceful enough to be able to really support our students to do. And I will actually say that given the fact that these high-performing schools that have established culture of learning are the ones who are getting these students, we stand a better chance of coming up with a better outcome 4 years from now or 3 years from now, because these are schools that do very well. Throughout all the reforms, they did not.
So can you allay the fears of a parent who says, this is pure experimentation? I don't want my child to go through this experimentation because the outcomes are really undetermined at this point in time.
No, Raymond, what I'll tell you is this. It's not experimentation. Suffice it to say...
Have we done it before?
This is the first time we're doing in Ghana. Yeah. However, Ghanaian children, let me tell you, I taught in America. And I know 10 years in the classroom in the US, it's like 20 years in Ghana. The kind of stress that you go through. Walk into a classroom where kids don't care about what you're teaching. Teachers are not respected. You turn your back towards them, somebody may throw something at you. Walk into a Ghanaian classroom and every student stand up for you. They greet you. They make you feel so welcome. If we cannot use this student to transform our nation, it is our fault and not the children. They are resilient. They will survive. They will do well. We just have to, as adults, begin to take responsibility for the improved outcome of our schools. It's not the fault of the student. And I have headmasters who are determined to really, no matter what you give them. You see,
have you resolved all their problems? I mean, have you resolved
what are the problems?
all their difficulties?
We've met with headmasters.
Are they say they don't have a problem?
No, of course.
But they say in different quarters that they have problems. Problems with finance, for example.
Finance, what's the problem? My brother, talk about finance. I'm not saying that there are no challenges, but if you look at now and then, if anybody come and look at what we do now and then, look at scholarship, the grants that come for feeding and all those things. Even if you don't, we don't have a situation where, as it happened the other times, when the Northern grant, it was a serious thorn in the flesh of most headmasters. They would threaten to close down their schools. Now, the Northern grant or feeding grant is part of Free Senior High School, and they are getting their disbursement. Food is being sent to them. So the headmaster doesn't wait to get money before food comes. They order the food stuff and it comes to them. So what I'm saying is this. What we are doing now is a vast improvement of what used to be in this country.
Ask a simple question. What percentage of a budget for the year, specifically for free SHS, which was 1.13 billion, has been released?
No, it's not 1.2 billion.
1.13?
No, it's not. Actually, the confusion is how the school year works and the budgeting cycle.
Yeah.
The one close to 1.2 billion people were alluding to was for the 2018 fiscal year.
Yeah,
and that 2018 fiscal year does not have 2 years at some point, and at that point is one. So the first term, it's part. This first term is part of the 2019 fiscal year, and it's both second year students and first year students. So it's not for 1 year that is 1.something billion. All that we are saying is this. If you look at the numbers that we gave out, as at that time, it was about 200 and something million that has not been released, but it now has been released to us. Our school ended, we've gotten the money, and the thing is, those monies were not supposed to go to headmaster directly.
Unfortunately, I've run out of time. I didn't know that my time was so short.
No, this has been a wonderful conversation.
Yes, we should do this again. But I cannot give you the time to speak. Forgive me. And I'm told that my time is up.
No. I mean, I think that we are going forward, and so we'll use the opportunity to see how things work, and we hope that things work. That's it.
Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of Upfront. Many thanks for joining us today.